there's something going on right now, isn't there? And this session is about you in your role. It's not about anything from the top down. It's about thinking about you as a leader within your setting and what that means when you're considering curriculum and curriculum change. We spoke earlier at one of my tables, we were speaking about the absolute cluster of information that you have to consider in terms of curriculum design. And all the different responsibilities, all the cross-cutting themes. And one of the things that just before lockdown, the Fresh narrative looked at really defining that and trying to bring it into the why, what and how of curriculum in Scotland. Now I know there's big debate at the moment going on about knowledge and skills and the powerful knowledge, etc. But what we're really looking at is, why do we do what we do as senior leaders, as educators, as Education Scotland? What it is that's really important for our children and young people, and why in terms of Curriculum for Excellence has that been defined? And then the team that I'm in, the Curriculum Innovation team, we help folks out in schools and in settings and in local authorities with the how. Now what we don't have is the right answer. And one of the things is the power of this room is the right answer. Because the decisions you make locally that are right and proper for your children and young people are the right decisions for curriculum. Now, dead easy for me to say. I'm standing here, I don't have the local authority coming to look at me, I don't have the inspectorate coming to look at me. What I have is an ambition and what I would like and what we in Scotland have agreed the social contract to our children and young people would be. I can only help people in that space. So, let's have a wee think. I want you to think of a kid in your setting. It can either be one of your kids in your setting, it could be your own young person. And some of the conversations I've had today have been about you as a leader and also your child as a learner. I want you to have a think of them. It's either a kid that keeps you up at night, it could be someone that if you managed to stay away from your emails, but if you didn't, you've maybe got a wee message about. And have a little think of them in terms of the 4 capacities. When you think of them in terms of the 4 capacities, where do their assets lie? I'm not going to ask you for audience participation at this point, but where do their assets lie? Where do we as leaders spend most of our attention? Now, there's lots of reasons that we probably spend most of our attention in the successful learners bit. Because of organisations like the one I work for, because of the external pressures of the press and what they do with league tables, that we get very narrowed in on curriculum being that which is measured. Now, probably shouldn't have said that in front of the camera. When we're in that space of curriculum and why we do what we do, how often do we let young people or focus on young people as contributors, individuals and citizens? And this is a bit of my plea when you're considering curriculum design. Let's go back and give it attention so we're providing the opportunities for young people to be able to operate in this space. Our self-evaluation framework in Scotland, Higeus, 2.2 curriculum, we have the key themes. What were to evaluate curriculum against UNCRC? Higeus and the exemplification in Higeus is a 10-year-old document. That's quite frightening, isn't it? 10 years have gone by. What's happened in 10 years? A lot has happened in 10 years. We are seeing children being very, very different. So if we evaluate ourselves against a historical artefact, do we then design for that place there or for the future? So there's something in that. If you were to evaluate your curriculum for that wee young person, how well does it develop their personalities, talents? Within your curriculum, we have 4 contexts. Where do you spend most of your time? I know as a secondary person, I would spend most of my time in curriculum areas and subjects. Now, what if the other 31 adults that were working with a young person was also doing that. Where do we provide them the opportunity for the breadth of curricular experience? So I'm just trying to provoke some thinking here. How do we plan a week that will give young people opportunities for personal achievement, IDL, ethos and life of the school? Has anyone nailed that? Let's do the that's me. Because that's really, really hard. It is, it's really hard. And what we're trying to do is work with people to be able to expose more of that. And it comes through when we're thinking about, if we thought of young people as contributors, individuals and citizens, that would change what we do in curriculum. Because you'd have to provide them opportunities to contribute to ethos and life of the school. Personal achievement, that's them as an individual. Citizens, that's really important. They contribute to their school community and the school in its community. So when we think about the learning environment, those of you from the primary background will probably recognise this. Realising the ambition. Early years practice guidance. It speaks about the environment's actually about interactions, experiences and spaces, and time is in there as well. Is that true irrespective of where in the learner journey? Should it be true? Should we be considering a young person's interaction with curriculum as the interactions with the learning, the adults, themselves, their environment, their spaces, the time and the experiences? Maybe if we looked at that as building on the practice that's going on in early years, we might solve some of the, I'm not going to say issues, some of the complexity of what we're dealing with further up. And how do young people interact with curriculum? It's through learning and teaching. How often do we plan curriculum and curricular experiences when we actually identify the learning and teaching approaches? What is my pedagogy that will activate curriculum for excellence? As an individual practitioner, that's really difficult. And the only reason that I can stand up here and have a bit of a conversation with you about this is I've kind of been through that and challenged myself. And only probably after 20 years within the profession could I nail what I thought my pedagogical approach was. I could justify why I'm doing what I'm doing in the way that I'm doing it because I'm getting different outcomes than what I would have got if I'd done it a different way. And how often do we look at that interplay of learner and educator agency? Can we have both at the same time? Can we go too far in one direction than the other? So as a leader of curriculum within your setting, how much learner agency is written in? How much educator agency is written in? We had a really nice chat, the table that were there earlier on for the curriculum conversation, and we were speaking about curriculum making, that teachers can curriculum make, and there's a difference between curriculum design, that's the architect, and the curriculum making, that's the builder. So how do you activate design in a class? That's curriculum building. So when you consider the whole community of a school and how it contributes to making the decisions round about your rationale, your why, once you have that element, the design element, and your why sorted, then you can begin to activate in that curriculum making context. Just have a look at these for a second. You're going to reflect on that young person that you thought about earlier, their experience of curriculum, how well the young people or that young person is prepared for that world. Is anyone saying, that's me? How does it make you feel when you see that? That's the world. There's research, World 2050, that's the world our young people are going to occupy as young adults. Now, I don't know about you, but what I see in that, we're already there. There are elements of that in the world around us. Does anyone get excited with that? Give us a hand up if you are. I'm going to tell you a wee story. Someone said to me, I wonder what kids would say. Geez, Leigh, go and ask kids. So when I've been working with schools, I've done exactly that. You know what excites them? Everything bar societal distrust. I'd love to learn more about it. I'm kind of going, really? And then when I explored, what is it about societal distrust? Well, trust's really important. I want to be trusted as a person. I want to be able to trust other people. And you know what? I want to be able to trust what I see on the internet and my interactions. I'm thinking, wow. I've got a niece and nephew that are 20 and 22. And I think, do they trust what was on the internet? Some of the rampant pottery that they used to come away with, it was on the internet. But we have a new generation of young people, the same age as the iPad or younger, the Gen Alpha learner. And what they're saying is, I want to be able to show you what I know and what I'm able to do. What does that then mean for me as an adult, designing a curriculum and doing some learning and teaching, if that's what they want to know? The Gen Alpha learner, 75% of them question what they see on the internet. That one shocked me. Really shocked me. So when we're thinking about understanding the learners and the how of curriculum making, do we really understand learners? Everyone in this room will be able to say, yes, we know children and young people and where they are as learners. Absolutely bang on point, observation, assessment, feedback to design learning. But there's something in that middle space that we're finding a lot of work needs to happen. That's not my judgment of you, that's just what we're being asked about. And when I look at that, the ones in purple, it's very much the technical leadership. Very, very much technical leadership. It's things that, yeah, we absolutely need to know that. And these are things that you're measured on. You know, people ask you questions, therefore you need to have the answer to it. But what we're finding is we're trying to shift that to listening to learners, being informed by their motivations and aspirations. Remember, Article 29? Empowering them to have agency. And as a leader that's in the big chair, that can be quite difficult because you've just landed in the big chair and you're saying, now I'm going to be handing some of this over. So it's how we do that. And that's round about adaptive leadership. And I know the PLL team are doing some work on that in future cohorts and in some of their stretch. Excellence in headship. So, you know, if you want to get into that space, there's some really, really interesting research and learning that can happen. So here we are, we've got a using meaningful learning networks. This is one right here. You'll all have connected with other people. You will be cherry picking. I really like that. I am a magpie. I'm even coloured like a magpie today. I listen to conversation. I go, you know what, that's brilliant. I'm going to use that. That's a hook to get someone to think about that. And when we look at using meaningful learning networks, what do we mean by that? We're talking about there are lots of different opportunities for partnership. But actually, when we're in the big chair, who is your meaningful network? And there's something in this. This was one of my cherry picks, actually. If it's biology, it moves. Chemistry, it stinks. How do we speak about education? What words do we use? Levers, drivers, cogs. If we're talking about education through physics, one bit goes, guess what? It all goes to pot. You'll recognise this, you've probably experienced this at least once in your life. when you're thinking about curriculum design and you want to do something that's a little bit different, guess what? A hierarchical approach, you get pulled back into line. You experience that? You might even be guilty of it, but that's okay, because sometimes it's like, whoa, that's too far out, we're not there yet. So that's okay to do. But if we think about an organic and ecological way of leading, these learning networks, yeah, that's a bit of a giggle. It's about schmoozing, it's about sitting down with someone, having a good chat. I had a great chat, so I'm going to steal some of the stuff from there. I've already made some connections. But in that space, what about this? Starling's murmuration. And it's something that seems to be landing with leaders that we're working with across the country. Starlings operate not on a front and back, top and bottom. They have horizontal connections. And what they do is if they're going to do something different, they don't go on the outside where they'll get picked off by the prey. They get themselves in the centre of the pack. They make a move, and all they need, 7 others to go with them. And everyone moves. So when I'm thinking about murmuration and leadership, be more starling. Again, easy for me to say. But that professional courage to take the leap and make the move for all the right reasons, that's what curriculum design is about. Knowing your learners, knowing the big ideas, and being able to activate that change that is right for your individual learners. On that note, if anyone wants to get in touch, have a chat, more than happy to do so. And I'll hand back to Ian. Perfect. Thank you.